Good. All right. I know we're running a little bit late, so if you're ready, we'll make a start. Sportscast is a really warm welcome to everyone either watching live or listening back on the podcast. We've had another incredible year, thanks to you all on the podcast, and I really appreciate the support. But it would not be possible without the people that are making this show possible, and it's a warm welcome to my co-host and partner Nevin Thomas. Happy New Year, Nevin. How are you, my friend?
Happy New Year, Bharat. It's all good. Sunny and
I know, and I don't blame you at all. We had our second lot of snow last night, quite a bit actually, but thankfully most of it's gone. But yeah, don't ask for weather reports for me. It's always dark, gloomy and cold for the next 2 months now, so nothing will change there. But you keep telling me about yours, it'll make me feel better. So that's good. How was your New Year, Christmas? You have a good time? Did you take some time off?
I did. I was just eating good food and not doing anything fun. I started playing badminton.
Okay.
After like 10-15 years, I think I'm playing badminton. So
what brought that on?
About the sport. Sorry?
What brought the fact that you started badminton again? What was the trigger?
I think the COVID scare sort of really affected football for me. The idea of 10-15 people sweating it out in a turf didn't seem all that enticing. So badminton is a game with social distance as well. So I sort of thought this is how I can be active as well as enjoy some sport.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But good news back home. The vaccine has been authorised. I think there's 2 lots of vaccine that's been authorised there. So that's a light at the end of this very long tunnel that we've been going through. So hopefully that will start making a difference back home. What are your quick thoughts on that one? Is the rollout being started this week? And
it's strange as well, in some sense, that you keep hearing that not a lot of these vaccines have gone through all the stages of testing that's been required, and government is also not encouraging any sort of questions from the press. So that doesn't really instill a lot of confidence. But at this stage, I think whatever comes our way, we just take it. So
yeah. Yeah, and I think the same thing happened here when we authorised. I say we, the government or the appropriate department authorised the vaccine here. That they did say that they'd skipped or did some of the things currently instead of in different stages like they normally would do. But this is a strange time, so. I think one of the vaccines is the same as the one we've got here, so I suppose like everything else, for better or worse, we have to have a little bit of faith that the medical people are a little bit more trustworthy than some of the politicians, so I'm basing my trust on them, so hopefully that will work out, but at least
what is the scene in UK? Is it being dished out very fast? Has it been accessible for everyone?
No, we've had the first, the Pfizer vaccine, which is a lot harder to distribute. The temperature has to be kept at, really, really low. I think it's minus 70 or something like that. So that has been a slow start, but we knew that when it was released. I think they've done about 1 million people so far. But the new one that should make a difference is the Oxford one that is being rolled out from tomorrow. And they're looking to do around 2 million people vaccinated by the middle of February, and to be able to be in a position to reduce a lot of the lockdown measures or restrictions from March. So that's the sort of timescale we're looking at. I think this is the Oxford one is going to be the game changer in terms of mass rollout of the vaccine and having an impact in life generally. But up till now it's been slow, but it's for the reason that first Pfizer vaccine had to be stored, and there were really tight restrictions on how it can be distributed, and that's the reason. I'm waiting for my parents. They should be getting hopefully a call this week. They're in that top priority group. I know a couple of people who've had the vaccine, the first shot. There are 2 shots, but they've changed the plans on the second shot now. It was going to be 2 or 3 weeks after the first one, but they've changed the plans now, whereby they are going to try and get as many people with the first shot and then start doing the second shot. So there's a bit of controversy around that. But I mean, the big headline in news is that the vaccine is out there and it's being rolled out, so it's just a matter of waiting a few more weeks. Considering what we've been through, I think that's not a big ask. So that's where we are. We're in lockdown in tier 4 now. Leicester went into tier 4 on Boxing Day, so we had one day with the family on Christmas Day, which was really nice. First time I've seen my family, brother and parents for the first time since goodness me, must have been the previous year. Obviously you FaceTime them every day, but that's not the same, so that was good. For one day we were allowed to do that. We did get tested, me and my son, just to make sure the day before everything was fine. So yeah, we took the precautions, but that was good. I know in India, I was speaking to Prasan from the cricket show, and he was saying that meeting families is not as restrictive there as it is here. Yeah. Is that right?
And I live with my family, so
no, but you can meet with other households?
Yeah, and also I went to a friend's wedding, which was
oh wow,
in Karnataka. So I drove there, came back.
Oh wow, that is a different world to where we are at the moment and have been. It's strange when you...
It's not necessarily a better world. I do get this feeling that we're just being careless. It's not like there's no COVID here. I think it's become so tough for the society to move forward with all these restrictions for like in an entire year. I am afraid of a sudden peak though, because all my friends, everybody follow on Twitter, on Instagram, all of them are either in Himachal or in Goa, enjoying the snow or enjoying the sun. It's almost like COVID never existed. So worry, but
yeah,
everything is in control.
Well, fingers crossed, because I don't think you've had the second peak. Fingers crossed you don't, because of the vaccine. We've had 2, and the second peak has been a lot worse than the first one. Our case numbers are really high. Past week I think it was pretty much 50,000 a day. The death rates are higher now, but the more worrying factor is the hospitals are getting full. I think we had 22,000 people nationally in England, which is a reaching capacity for this country. So absolutely opposite picture to what you've just described. Some footballers did let us down where they celebrated breaking some COVID rules, so we'll see what comes out of that. But let's move on to football and better things. But like I said, light at the end of the tunnel for India and for us with the vaccine, so we'll see how that goes out. But we've had football to keep us going, both with the English Premier League here over Christmas, as you know, a lot of games, but also back home in the ISL. And a couple of things I just wanted to take your views on in terms of how the games have been going. And obviously there's a big game for my boys this afternoon, a bottom of the table clash, which I never thought I'd be saying at the start of the season. A lot of pressure on Stuart Baxter and Orisha today to get a result. I don't think a point will be good. What's the feeling in India are you getting in terms of Orisha and the expectations maybe we had? I think to be fair, Rohan had when we spoke to him with the signings he'd made, with the appointment of Coach Baxter. I was really happy with it. I know you were really excited by some of the signings, but the year's not gone well, and there's a lot of pressure there on him and the players to get a result today. I personally don't think a point will be good. I think we need a win. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree. I think Odisha's reached a stage where now they need a couple of victories to salvage the season. Yeah, on paper they had everything going for them. perhaps not the starting names for India, but like we discussed earlier. I think it has a group of people who could perhaps make it to the Indian squad in the near future. There was a lot of potential talent in that team. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a little bizarre. I don't know. I think again we did discuss this a couple of episodes back in terms of what is the best strategy for a manager to have a good plan A, stick to it, have a distinct identity, or do we want to have a versatile manager, a pragmatic manager with A, B, C, and B plans, for example? And I remember us talking to Rohan, and I think Rohan was saying that he wanted a coach who could adapt as per matches. I am not so sure whether that's best policy. Again, I'm nobody to judge. We've seen really good pragmatic managers and get results and all that. But if you want to be a good powerhouse, establish us as favorites, challenge the top four of ISL, I think you coaches with a certain identity, and that I've not seen with Baxter. I don't know if it is down to the fact that his players are not really performing to the mark. I don't know if there is some, unexpected challenge that he faced upcoming to India. But I've really not seen that kind of a consistency in the managerial style from Baxter as well. For all his little weakness here and there, Gombao had a distinct plan that on Nisha's side. He knew the players, he cared for them, he was like a mentor for them, which I don't think Coach Baxter has sort of listened up to. So, it's too early to say Coach Baxter is not made for India or anything of that sort, but you see the likes of Owen Boyle really inspiring confidence and really playing good football, even with a small squad, right? So, yeah, it's a very difficult time for, Rohan as well, I suppose. Like, what do you do now? You have to salvage the team, and often the quick fix is to, sack the manager or get somebody else. But that's, like we said, that's just a quick fix, right? So, interesting times, and I somehow feel they are there, just about there. I don't think the foreigners have really stood out. So maybe, just trust an all-Indian squad, just go play, have some fun. Anyway, there is no relegation to worry about. So have fun, create an identity, stick to something. I think they should use the remainder of the season that way.
Yeah, I agree, and it's something that when we spoke to Rohan about, saying that, are you going to appoint a manager for one season, which seemed to be the trend in the ISL, and he goes, no, we have got a bit of a project, that's why I gave him a 2-year contract. I think it's a 2-year contract with Coach Baxter.
It's an additional option to make it 3 years.
Yeah, and I hope he sticks with it, despite the start we've had. I think chopping and changing, we've known that never works unless you want to bring Sam Allardyce in, but I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. But I hope he sticks with Coach Baxter, and the players, like you said, are young, they are future internationals. I think if we can make it into a project and see how we are next year, because the other addition is that obviously they're playing in Goa, they've not got that home field, so we've got to take that into account a little bit. They are young players, so I hope the project carries on and Coach Baxter stays with the team and is given that next season to see really where we are with Orisha, because it could be a team that just needs that one more year, because they've not been far away. Like you say, they've had a few injuries at the start, but you can see the talent that they've got, and that talent is bound to come through. But you mentioned another manager there who seems to have found the formula, and that's Owen Coyle. He surprised me hugely when he came last year, and you know what my thoughts were. But I have to, and I think I said it last time when he took Chennai to the finals, that he's proved me wrong. I apologise, and he's doing it again. And I was looking at the results for Jamshedpur. They beat 80k. They drew against the big boys of Mumbai. They lost unluckily last minute against Goa, and a good result against BFC. He seems to have found the formula in terms of Indian football, and how to. He had a dodgy start, but he kept faith, and he's doing an amazing job.
that great.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of problems, and it's really reliant on really young upcoming Indians, and then baskets. It's pretty much being that one pivot in some sense to give the ball. And I mean, as somebody who's followed Indian football for the last 10, 12 years, having a lethal striker up front, I think I don't have the stats to prove it, but somehow like significantly alters your form. If your striker scores, you are bound to finish top one of the league. And so we've seen it again and again. I remember Churchill getting Willis Plaza, I think it was last season or the season before that, and he came and scored a lot of goals. And Churchill was I mean, it's a little unfair to call him mediocre, but not a side that was expected to perform. And this one tall striker, you could just give it to him and he would score the goal. So, yeah, Vasquez is doing I mean, it's unfair to compare it to Willis Plaza, but anyway, like Vasquez is doing a really good job as a perfect striker for Owen Coyle setup, and he's also inspiring youngsters like Aniket Jadhav and everybody. They're like really working hard and working as a unit. And yeah, I think it also goes back to the idea that Jamshedpur, owned by the Tatas, really know Indian football. They've been in the same for quite a long time. Forgetting that I know Jamshedpur is a young team, a new team, but they've been in the academies for quite a long time. They've developed some of India's best footballers for a long time. So they've probably realized, hey, Owen Coyle is perfect for our project. We don't have to necessarily go by like top players like Bangalore, Goa, and everything. We can use this guy, use this year to really build a team, and then maybe invest in one or two big players this season. And they've got it spot on.
yeah, definitely with the results against the big boys as well. That's what's been impressive for me. And the other one that's impressed, well, two players actually, one Nigerian, Stephen Easy, and also I've been really impressed with. He's got a great name, Jackie Chan. You probably know him. Well, not probably. You do know him a lot better than me. But we seem to have a good bench strength of midfielders. They're all of the similar build, but they've all got that talent of beating players and getting the assists. And
Jackie's a pro now. Jackie's been around the scene for quite a long time. He's also taken part Goan team under Surgeon and everything. He's played for most of the England. Jackie was just broken out during that Royal Bahimpo season. I don't know, I'm sorry, just confused that way. But he's been around, he's been a pro for quite a long time. He's played for most sides of the country, and it's not a surprise that he sort of polished his skills and become really useful. And whenever we've given him a good target man, Jackie delivers. Jackie is that kind of out and out winger who always looking for a target man. And he's not your inverted winger who come and score a lot of goals. He's always looking for the final pass. So no surprise in Jackie really performing well. And yeah, Eze, again, like I said about having a big striker, having a big defender is a second big step to building a successful team. And he is literally big. He is like he was standing up to fall for Mumbai City, and I think Eze seemed bigger than Rada Fall, and that was like, wow, we've got really big footballers playing as centre defenders. Even Chennai has got a very big centre back. So, yeah, no surprise there. And he's also coming and scoring very important goals. The thing is, Jamshedpur is reflecting a lot of positivity. You see them play football, they seem to be enjoying them. They seem to be happy playing football. They seem to be happy wearing the jersey, and that makes a significant difference. And which is what is probably lacking in Odisha. Everybody seems a little down and shoulders down, and they look at that bamboos with the prospect of playing in the ice. So, yeah, good for Jamshedpur and good for Mumbai.
And I'm always looking for that one team that might break into the top four. We know what the big four are. And at the start I thought it'd be Northeast, but you quite rightly said, we'll see if this can be sustained, and they're having a bit of a blip at the moment. They've not won for 3 or 4 games, but Jamshedpur, we can't write them off, not with that manager who's done it and shown us how to do it. They have to be surely contenders at the halfway stage.
Yeah. Only worries again is the squad depth is always a big worry for them. these so-called smaller teams. So then look at some side like an 80K, they have abundant players in every position that they can obviously get somebody on board when somebody gets injured or something. And if you look at the next set of schedules, I think Kerala Blasters, for example, playing 8 matches in a month. That's a lot of football for a small squad. So yeah, that is going to be the challenge for all other teams, the top four, and we'll wait and see who can come out best.
And last time I thought, when we spoke, I was a little bit, asking if what's happening with Goa, and they've turned it around since we had that conversation. So it might be down to you as well in giving them the advice as to what's going wrong, because they seem to have turned it round. Can you give, or do they need any advice at Bengaluru?
I don't know. I think Bangalore got so comfortable eking out victories with those long balls. They have to realize people are watching them, and people are finding a pattern in their football, using their big men somehow, over reliant on set pieces. So you can train a team to defend that. Those things are not like, ask Sam Allardyce. They'll say, you give us set pieces, we will try to somehow set our team to defend. But you play quick football, there's no way. Like quickly and your through balls and that's harder to stop, right? So Bangalore should go back to relying on their strength, which is to play good football. That's how Bangalore FC became Bangalore FC. They played like super beautiful, free-flowing football, like Chetri, CK Vinny, Curious Lindo, all those maestros in the other half of the football pitch. So it can't be changed overnight, because this is a working system right now for Bangalore. But why don't you push the likes of, say, Ashik up forward? Why don't you? Ashik is now injured, so sort of part to set up. But likes of Udanta has still got a lot of pace and probably a little bit of confidence is all that is required to take around. And you need to really trust your attackers more. I think Bangalore has become so comfortable with the big men doing everything for them, and unfortunately teams are finding a way.
And you say that they need to go back to the way they were playing. They've got the same coach and pretty much the same team. Why do they change? Because this new formula of defensive football, counter-attacking and long balls is working, or why did they change?
So I would say, I think when I say their old ways, I'm not talking about, say, one season.
Right, okay.
With like Westwood and Boca and all them. So when it was Aston Westwood was fast attacking direct football, more like a Germany side, and Boca brought in possession football. They would dominate matches. It was like the Barcelona peak days where they would just dominate, and then finally back. It's not most easy to watch, because I'm not a huge fan of people just crossing possession so much. But they were very efficient and they never let the other team take it to them. Right now, I would say Quadrat is sort of lost. Maybe he is a continuation from Boca. He used to work. So the idea was he would take the project forward. But I feel it's gone backwards. He's gone back to the Indian football template of using big men to win matches. That's unfortunately not what we want with 2021, and hopefully Bangalore realizes that and changes this. If not drastically, at least slowly go back to it.
And in terms of, I know the media coverage is not here, it's not comparable, but when a big team, we saw the stories with Arsenal, and it's always fun to see Arsenal struggle, because Arsenal TV is a lot of fun watching when they're struggling, and they've turned it around. But they had a huge press. I know India is at a different stage of evolution of football, but do you hear people, supporters, fan groups getting on backs of teams? I mean, for example, at Kerala, I know you're saying they're quite placid or calm. The expectations are not.
I don't know why though. I'm angry, and I'm livid that the fan groups just keep on saying, no, we need to trust the process. We need to believe in the system.
That's what I hear a lot. Yeah, and that surprises me.
And I'm like, how long? What is this? what is this so-called, if you're a true fan, you will support the team. I am still supporting the team, but I can be angry. What is this concept that I cannot be angry? I can be really angry with the team and still really like the team, right? I don't think half these AFT Arsenal fan TV guys also hate. They like the team.
Oh, they love the team.
They are about
Yeah.
because they care about it. Again, I don't want to promote them in any way. Sometimes I do feel it goes to toxic line so much, but nevertheless, it's because we are fans and we care so much and we're passionate. And this is football. It's a game of emotions and passion. It can't be that you just just say, oh no, everything is positive. Kerala lost to City yesterday, Mumbai City yesterday, and everybody's like, yeah, but we played well, Sahal played well, and wow, like they could have scored 4, and if you're not scoring from your chances, then that's poor. You need to highlight it. And the defense was so weak. They missed a penalty. God, like, how long will we continue traveling in this positivity train? I have no idea, but this is what I hear, and I am the annoyed one.
Yeah, and it surprises me. I suppose I reflect that because I mean I started off by saying about Orisha and we should give him another year, and but the expectations were not met in my eyes. Probably the expectations in my eyes were too high, and I was saying, all right, let's keep the faith. And I did put a tweet out early on that keep the faith, But I think when you're at one of the big clubs, and to be fair, I count Kerala as one of the big clubs because of the fan base, and BFC obviously.
That's literally the only thing big about Kerala right now. Possibly.
Yeah, but I look at it and I see sort of comparisons with Newcastle and the fans, how annoyed they are with the management, with the ownership, and the way the clubs.
I'm so happy you said this because I'm probably going to take the snapshot, a small portion of this and send it to my friends because I literally call the name of Newcastle today. That's exactly what is happening.
Yeah, that's why it surprises me. I know we're at a different stage in India in terms of the evolution of football, but the fans really need to start, saying how they feel a bit more. I don't think that makes you any less of a fan. Arsenal TV is a personal example, and we're giving a lot of publicity here, but the guys spend a fortune following their team, and if you're spending that hard-earned money, all right, it's Arsenal TV, so it's not hard-earned money, but the rest of us who spend a lot of money following our clubs. And one of the things that came out of lockdown was the realization, because obviously we're not spending that money on match day when we go out, how much money we do spend when we go to watch football. The amount of money I've saved, when I added it up, me and my friend, we did this the other day, and it was quite shocking. You don't realize when you follow your club, you just take it for granted because it's part of your life and you do it. You rock up on a Saturday, or if it's an away game, how much money you do spend. So when we spend that sort of money, and it's the same in India, it's not easy to earn money and then you spend it supporting your club, whether it's a home or away. Surely you have the right to say, no, this is not good enough, this is not on. Because it's not showing disloyalty at all. So hopefully we'll get to that stage where people, like I said, there is a line you don't cross. Has to be constructive, can't be abusive, but and the passion's there. But we just need to also call out, or the fans need to call out.
Because otherwise the management is going to just sit there, right? Like, these guys don't care anything. You just need to put out 11 people.
Yeah, and I think that there's also the feelings sitting here comfortably in Leicester that some of the fan clubs, need to be on the right side of the owners. So there's that worry as well. I understand that, which is different to here. I know we had a fan club here in Leicester that was very, in the bad days, I say bad days, prior to these owners, who were very against the club, and their banners used to be confiscated, and the supporters just wouldn't have it. They said, no, freedom of speech, you've got to let us be, and they did get their way, but I can understand that. But come on, Blasters fans, say how you feel. And same with the Bengaluru fans. That's where I was coming from. They're a big club, huge fan base as well, a lot of passionate and involved supporters. I'm just thinking, are you happy with what's happening? Let us know. But we'll see what comes out of that. But I also wanted to talk to you about. We've talked a lot about the lack of depth when it comes to strikers in India. We know that. I'm not going to go over that today. But what I did want to say is, are we building a good bench strength in terms of goalkeepers? And for me, I think the difference between Gurpreet and the rest is not as big as what some people might think, or am I being over optimistic and wearing my blue tainted glasses of everything's good? But do you think the bench strength of goalkeepers is good now?
Of course, and it is largely down to the fact that that's a position where I think now want to fill an Indian player. They don't want to waste a foreign player as a goalkeeper. So they started trusting the Indians, paying big money to get the good goalkeepers, and now they take the rules. This is what we've all been saying. Why don't you trust the same with a good defender? Why don't you do the same with an attacker? Because that's the only way we can move forward, right? So, yeah, I think that's that. And the rise of Gurpreet himself, I think that there was initially some interest from Europe, and he did play in Europe for a while, and so he is a good, he's a good benchmark. So all the other keepers also get sort of aspiring to be like him. And forget Gurpreet, there is a senior pro in Super Cup still up there and performing really well. So, and like Amrinder, Vishal Kher, Albino, he's been making silly mistakes, but he's also been pulling off really good saves. So a lot of young people, like you rightly pointed out, and with a lot of different skills. So
yeah, and
like Nawaz is a ball playing keeper, but like Gurpreet is a big shot stopper. So I still feel Gurpreet is the best we have right now. I do feel Gurpreet's moves a little off. I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know. I mean, he's not your peak. It doesn't feel like he's commanding a. I don't know. It's all purely from what I can see on it, but somehow he has sort of lost interest, or it doesn't have the same presence as he had in his dressing room, say 3 years back. I don't know. Something seems off. Something seems off about the entire Bangalore side. With their winners, they're big and they're all that, but something seems missing. And Gurpreet being one part.
Yeah, I was just about to say, with Gurpreet, is it just reflective of the way BFC are, and that's why I wanted to talk about them as to, are things all where they should be with BFC. But with Gurpreet, I mean, the main point for me was that, if he's not there for the national team for whatever reason, I don't think we've got anything to worry about. I think, like you mentioned, Subrata Bull, and I have to give a shout out to a person I interviewed who really came across really, really well, and he's playing really well. Is Arshdeep Orisha, a young keeper, but with a lot of talent, and with a father that's quite constructive in terms of his criticism. I'm loving that he's getting a lot more chances than I thought he would when I interviewed him, because Orisha have got a couple of good goalkeepers there as well. But Amrinder, you mentioned Albino, but my main point was that we're in a good place, and I think it's a reflection of how we've progressed, that we've got bench strength of goalkeepers there. If Gurpreet's not there, I wouldn't be too worried. Just like I said earlier, that we've got a good talented midfield bench. I think those two positions, I would say that India are doing really well at, and we've got really, really good talent in those two positions. We'll talk about centre backs in another show, but I just wanted to take your view in terms of the goalkeeping and how it's come along since the early days. Like you said, it might be the case that the clubs don't want to waste that money, but it's shown through by the talent that's come through as well. So yeah, I think that's a lot of positives for us moving forward.
System, right? So when the I-League sides realize that ISL teams are looking to buy keepers, so they also start paying Indian keepers because they know this potential sale. So it's sort of, that's how the ecosystem works, right? So as long as there's demand, there's always supply, and that's I think we are good for keepers in the next. In the future, because I don't see ISL teams going back to putting foreigners behind the stick. So I think they will be covered that way.
Yeah, and I think what you said, that Gurpreet has set a standard that everybody else has to get to, and I think they are getting there. If a couple are not already there, maybe, in my opinion, but I think it is something that will progress and get better. So it's a very good sign for Indian football moving forward. It's also obvious the January transfer window is upon us here, and it's been in India, I think, a week early or something. And I was just looking at some of the transfers that were made, and East Bengal have been really busy, not surprisingly. I think they brought in 4 players. The one that stood out for me was Eno Bakare, who used to play for Wolves here. I think he's come in. We'll see how much of a difference he makes. But the one that I wanted to talk to you about was, and this was a surprise for me, was the business done between Kerala and ATK. And I believe my initial impressions were going to be why this trade has been done by Kerala at this stage. But then obviously this story has got bigger since then. Do you want to fill us in? Because my initial thoughts were going to be on the lines of why would Kerala, want to do this swap? But what's happened with this transfer?
So from what I know from my sources, is that Dongdamba wanted out.
All right.
Yeah, so he had 6 months left in his contract, and he was intending to sign further. So there was a possibility of Kerala losing him on free, and ATK had clear interest. ATK so having been a stellar performer of the last season round, they did want him back, and I probably got amplified by the fact that Susay Rajput, they did want being a player left side. So that way, I think it made sense for both parties. I think Nongdamba was offered a 5-year contract by Kerala.
Oh wow!
I can believe my sources. Just like Jackson and Sahal Rahul, they wanted him on long-term basis, but he refused. So the sale was on. The sale was always going to happen. From what I understand, Kerala Blasters management or the medical team didn't really understand the gravity of Dongdamba's injury, which he picked up, and even made him go through a couple of very harsh training sessions as well. And yeah, it's bizarre that. You could argue that Kerala Blasters, they wanted the sale to go through nevertheless, and so they get quiet about it. I don't know. But that aside, that Mohan Bagan did, or ATK Mohan Bagan did come and sign the player, had a training session with him, and then realized he got a very, ACL injury is a big deal in football, right? So to figure this out after all this drama and after signing a player seems ridiculous to say the least, and it's probably, this might be the biggest eye-opener you want about Indian football and what goes behind the scenes. So, are they saying they trust? Was trust the big factor for signing without a medical eye? Yeah. Some people even argue that it could be because of the fact that if he had to be taken outside, they'll have to break the bio bubble rule. But you've doctors and you've got physiotherapists and all those people with you traveling. And it's an ACL injury. It's not like a small toe, or you've got like a dead finger or something like that. It's a serious injury, and the fact that this could not be detected was strange. And then comes the drama of the ATK saying, "Hey, we won't pay for the player if he's injured," which is again bizarre. Why did you sign him up if you're not intending to pay? They refuse to acknowledge the reverse transfer of Ghosh to Kerala Blasters. That got really messed up because Kerala Blasters had already announced a player, but they refused to register in the AFF backside, and a lot of drama happening here and there. A lot of petty drama, if I may add, because this is not good. Because Ghosh's transfer should not have been bothered by the Nongdamba saga at all. He wanted to move. The NOC was given. Why would you give an NOC a no objection certificate and then create the drama of saying, oh no, wait, we don't need to do that. And at the end of the day, it's an injury, and it can be healed. It can be that's what happens to footballers. He could pick up this injury 2 weeks later. Also, then would you have not paid for the player? Would you have not taken care of his injury, whatever? But from what I understand right now, Kerala Blasters have agreed to take care of the surgery or whatever cost that is required, but the deal will go.
Wow, where do I begin? Where do I begin with this?
Wow.
When Indian football can't make things up, they certainly can't. You can't write this stuff. All right, let me start from the beginning. Why did Nogbanda want to leave? He's a talented player, playing at a big club. Don't question me on that one. I'm going to call it a big club. Why did he want to leave? Game time or progression or
game time, or maybe he doesn't like Kerala so much. Maybe he was influenced by a lot of other people. ATK is a huge side,
right?
So even Kerala Blasters is big, whatever. Like ATK is like a side that can obviously challenge the top. So he thought probably that's nice. And he's a kid. I mean, heads can be turned really easily by multiple projects. Why did Dheeraj Singh? So many youngsters go there when there was very limited chance of them actually playing. So, yeah, I mean, we can only guess why Nongamba chose to go to ATK. He seemed pretty happy about it, and maybe there was a discussion in Kerala as well. But it's strange because they offered him a long-term contract.
Yeah, that's the thing that stood out for me. Obviously, I was not aware of the offer of the 5-year contract because I think that for an Indian footballer is something unusual, maybe incredible offer, and so that's one thing, and I can understand.
And if he was well advised, that's a good way to put your foot down and work on your career, right? Like have 2-3 seasons with the club, find everything similar, have a distinct factor in the things. You also have like Jigson, but all part of that under 17 World Cup gang. So you also have friends in the squad. I don't know why he chose to do it, but I'm sure he has his reasons. And of course, there's been a lot of winding up happening throughout the season as well from Kolkata side, trying to get him back on board. So maybe he got influenced by all these things.
Yeah.
And like, I know it's just a strange thing to say, but at least Kolkata is closer to home. I don't know if that matters at all.
Yeah.
From Manipur, but maybe that's all.
And as somebody who lives in Kerala, what about having Ghosh in the team? I'm just looking at the footballing before I question you on the mad things that happened afterwards. But having
Ghosh is a very exciting prospect. I was when ATK signed Manveer also this season, I was like, oh my god, what is happening? Because that's like Jobby Dustin, Manveer, Ghosh, Palman also was part of that team then, back then, even though he did leave to East Bengal. So Palman, Roy Krishna, David Williams, I was like, are they going to play an entire squad with strikers? Because they've got that many with them. So I was really worried about Ghosh because he was one of those upcoming prospects. We keep looking for Sunil Chetri's successor, so whenever we see an interesting striker, we're always like excited and we're like, oh, could he be the next successor or not? We're always looking at. So Ghosh getting game time was very important, and I think him coming to Kerala makes a lot of sense because both Kerala strikers have been very dicey. Mare has been at least a little bit proactive. Gary Hooper has really black fire. So there is a prospect for, and Kibu has also worked with him last season at one.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense for him to come here and then we get a lot more of game time. If not a starter, at least he would have definitely got 30-40 minutes in most matches. So the post transfer makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure ATK would have wanted to keep him, but like at the end of the day, there is a limit to how many footballers you can keep, and I think Kerala Blasters thought, hey, this is a good opportunity to go with a youngster.
Right, moving on, and by the sound of it, I think on paper, Kerala have got a good deal here by the way you describe Ghosh and where Nogbanda's mind was in terms of wanting a move out, and obviously a striker will make a difference to the Blasters. But then the question comes about signings in India and the way things are done. I'm just reflecting of how things are done here, which is totally different, because no matter what the selling club says, the player has a full physical and medical, and it goes on when you see transfer deadline day, how everything is still done to ensure the players are done. And you've seen the documentaries on Netflix and Amazon with United and Sheffield United and Leeds United, and how they can be. I don't think the fact that they're in a bubble would stop them doing that. They have all the medical facilities because players have all sorts of injuries, so they must have the resources to cater for that. And this is a well-run 80k big. It's a big club. How can they sign a player and not do a medical and put him in a training and then say, "Oh my goodness, what have we done here?" I mean, what was their thought process? Were they so trusting of Kerala Blasters that don't need to do any due diligence on this?
What? I want you to guess because I've heard. Why don't you try guessing? Would have done that because I know. I mean, it makes no sense in the world that you would sign a player without a ticket, and you can come up with all these excuses of bubble and whatnot to please your hardcore fans, but as neutrals or as journalists, as observers, we're not going to buy that thing. There's something beyond all this. It almost felt like, hey, he's got an injury, so maybe we can use that as an excuse to not pay up whatever we promised Kerala Blasters.
Yeah.
This could be a reason. This is how Indian football works. So this could well be a reason. And the thing is, we are all blind army that immediately this is announced. All the Kolkata fans are like, "Oh no, Kerala Blasters cheats."
No.
Blasters on the other side, the Malayali fans are like, "Oh, what a terrible club, not even doing medical." I'm sure Kerala, their claim is that Noctamar did not have an injury, and it happened in Kolkata
in the practice session.
Kolkata's camp. So a lot of blame came here and there when we should be really sitting down and asking, guys, what's going on? What is happening? Well, this is mediocre. This should not be happening in 1999, and here we are in 2021 and still doing all this.
I think for me it's black and white. 80k have messed up. Either he got the injury, like you said, in training, or they didn't do the due diligence with the checks. I don't think Kerala at our fault in any way at all, and I think
I'm sure Kerala is also at fault in terms of they probably didn't detect the injury. Long-term did have problems.
No, but if I'm selling and I don't say my car's got a fault and you buy it without having it checked, it's your fault. Don't take my word for it. This is professional football. We're not here to
No, I'm just saying that had the sales not happened, from what I hear, they didn't actually detect a ACL injury. How bad is their medical team that didn't detect an ACL injury? I'm really concerned for the other players on that side.
Yeah, but my view is, as a neutral, I think the onus is on 80k to make sure everything's ticked and all the I's are dotted and what have you. That was when you told me about what happened, because I was just going to generally just talk about whether it was a good deal for Kerala, but the backstory is unbelievable, and for me it doesn't shine a good light, like you say, on 80k and their medical staff. For a big team like that, that's a big embarrassment. But moving on, I mean, the transfer window, is it the same until end of January, or is it different in India?
Yeah, January.
Yeah. So East Bengal obviously made some number of signings. They need it obviously to turn their season around. They've got a huge number of Indian players, and I think they're brought in a couple of foreigners to see if they'll make a difference. We'll see if they play today or whether they'll be in quarantine maybe, so we'll see how that comes up. The other thing I wanted to very quickly get your thoughts on is the I-League is going to happen in a bubble in Kolkata, and I'm looking forward to the I-League. I'm not sure I'll get any coverage, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting not having East Bengal and Mohun Bagan in there, and who are the favourites now? I mean, it's become a lot more open, or do you think there's still big teams there that can run? Obviously the format's changed as well. I think they're having halfway through two groups, a championship group and a relegation group, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. But that's just part of the nature of where we are with the football. Are you looking forward to the I-League? And I know that's proper football, as you would say, the real football.
Yeah, last year was very difficult to follow because of bad coverage. So I'll raise my hand and say I did not watch a lot of football last year. Previous season I was with the I-League side, so I had way better access. But last year, unfortunately, I couldn't follow a lot of matches because of really poor broadcast. And this year also they've got one play sports, something like that. It's not a channel that's readily available on the so it's again going to be really hard to cover, but obviously big sides there. Like you asked me the question of who I'm expecting to win, I have no idea because
this was the opportunity to say this is going to be Gokulam's time, because they are.
I said that last year. Who scored last year, but this year I'm not really as amazed by their form than last time around. Last time around they did have a lot of players, and they did have a good pre-season run by winning the European Cup and winning the other tournaments as well. So this time around, very hard to judge. I am expecting Real Kashmir to perform well because they played the IFA really well.
Yeah.
Strong side. Chennai City, they're always a surprise fact, right? They always recruit really good players, and I know Hari Krishnan, who's always sort of been talked about in Kerala as a really good midfielder. They've signed him, and they've got a very good side there in Chennai. Bochum, obviously, with all their pedigree and not pedigree, but like they're a good side. They know how to get things done. So yeah, these are the sides for me. And Punjab, certainly Punjab, they've made some really good signings there. Including, I think, Diawara, the last year's star striker. So they are also a good side. So I think I would put my weight on one of these sides too.
Yeah, and I am actually looking forward to it more than last time because the big boys are not there, so-called big boys, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Delhi, the new team that's been promoted to the I-League, get on in their first season. Obviously the northeastern clubs, Aizawl especially, and I'm looking forward to how this tournament pans out. And like you say, it'll be interesting. Mohammedan Sporting, they're one of the big names of Indian football from back in the day, and more importantly some Indian coaches as well, so that's another good thing I'm looking forward to, but we'll talk about that as the season progresses, but lots to look forward to there as well. But before we end, I have to bring you back to some European football. Big game for you tonight, Man City. There's a bigger game before then, as we travelled to Newcastle. I was there last year actually. I spent New Year's Eve in Newcastle. Brilliant city, lovely people, great night out, and we came away with a 3-0 win. But that stadium, oh my goodness.
I remember you telling me about it. Like you're so far away from the crowd.
Oh, just to get up there, you need to be fit. You really need to be fit. I'm not joking, to get into the clouds there. But it's a beautiful stadium, beautiful city. So we're playing Newcastle today. I'm expecting us to play our first team, which we didn't against Palace because of the nature.
I hope Justin scores a hat trick because he's there.
Yeah, there's a lot of player. Barnes is in a lot of people's fantasy league. So, are you in the cup? The cup started yesterday. You must be in the cup.
I've sort of I slacked off in like mid part of FPL. Now I'm just back because the COVID really helped me out in the last couple of weeks.
Oh.
And suddenly I got back into the scene, and I'm not in part of the cup.
And are you looking to Frank getting his mojo back against Man City?
No. I don't want to talk Chelsea this season. I don't know. I think I'm happy something is now starting, but generally so much English pampering he gets and he gets away with it, everything under him. Chelsea's been poor. Look at the squad.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Chelsea's got a very exciting squad. This is not the kind of results we should be getting.
No.
We're losing all the matches. Mojo's lost, not just with Frank Lampard. I don't know if he had the Mojo with yes, as well. It's quite disappointing actually.
The tide is turning, I have to say, but it's very, very slow because of the nature of Frank and what he means to English football. But it is slowly changing. You can start hearing the murmurings, and because, like he said, the talent he brought in over the summer, it's just not being reflected on the pitch. And then when you start resorting,
and he goes back. So okay, he's bought Werner, he's bought Havertz. Use them, right? Like, I don't care if Chelsea are going to lose 2-3 matches, but like, you work on a system. That's how Klopp started. That's how Brandon Rodgers started. Everybody was willing to work, with the system and get the people. This fellow was just like, oh, Werner's not playing well today. I'll bring back Jim. And
yeah.
I mean, I love Giroud. I think he's one of the best strikers out there.
Yeah.
He's a superb player, but
I'd love to have him in Leicester.
On your system, right? You have to work on your system, and Frank Lampard seems to be really lost there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised if Chelsea beat City today, simply because Werner's pace or something like that, and City really attacks. But City is also a chain side. They no longer, go fully forward. They want to defend. They don't like conceding anymore. So City is okay.
Yeah.
The whole City might go all out attack and Chelsea will hit them on a counter, but I don't see that also happening.
Yeah, City are missing Aguero, the old Aguero, hugely, and that's why they're about to change to ensure they don't concede. So they've gone the other way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, the murmurings have started at the bridge, and with your owner, I know he's not very sentimental when it comes to changes, but the other owner that's not very sentimental, and why would anybody want to take the PSG job on? Why did Pochettino say yes to this job? Because the only thing you are going to be judged on is winning the Champions League.
I think Pochettino realized that United job is not coming to him very soon. So I think it's just like, hey, I need work, right? So everybody thought he's just going to just walk and replace Ole, but United are playing swashbuckling.
I don't think that's anything to do with Ole.
That's there. They've got like really fantastic players performing. But,
yeah.
And also teams playing to their strength, like the likes of just, you have a fast attacking, counter attacking team. So why don't we open up space for you so that your team can score 5-6 goals? But yeah, I think I don't blame Pochettino. I was like, yeah, whatever, like the team. So and the good thing for managers is that I think they lose their credentials by, even if you fail at PSG, because it's like a doomed project. Nobody judges you even if you disappoint. I think I'm sure there'll be multiple takers for Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
Despite his not so great performance in PSG, simply because PSG is a different ball game. You have to have something beyond football, also just luck or some sort of ability to make any goals. I'm sure Sir Alex would have played.
There's no way Sir Alex would have been given the time at PSG. He would have won 10 league titles back to back, but if he hadn't won the Champions League. But there are big expectations, and I know what you're saying about maybe class it as sort of a free hit as a coach, but it is a big test for Pochettino after Tottenham and how his reputation was built on young players. He's got to go and now manage big stars. It's going to be a real test for him, and it can work out that he gets a free hit because it's PSG and he doesn't get Champions League, so he gets sacked. But it could work. It reminds me a bit like Eddie Howe of Bournemouth, the famous Eddie Howe that nobody talks about now when a vacancy comes up. He went to Bournemouth, did a brilliant job, went to Burnley, slightly bigger club at that time, and failed, and then went back to Bournemouth. And when you hear he's been out of work now, 6-7 months, anytime a vacancy comes up, you don't sort of hear him being mentioned. and he was touted as a future Arsenal manager. So sometimes, these big career moves can make or break a career as well. I take your point about PSG might be classed as a free hit, and Tuchel, to be fair to him, he already had that. I think he had a better reputation than Pochettino. Might be sacrilege to say that, but I think he had a better one from Dortmund. But we'll see. We'll see how Pochettino gets on in the Champions League.
I wouldn't mind if Chelsea are looking to replace. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Seems like a very good.
I think a lot of big clubs will be saying, "Oh, this manager is now available." I think that's a good shout, and I think it'd be a good fit. He speaks English. He's managed these young talents. Obviously, a few of them from Germany. Do you know what? That's not a bad shout. But you're dealing with a young English manager who is very much loved, and like I said, the murmurings are there, but that's all they are at the moment. But you never know with your owner. He won't have any sentimentality to it, and I think Chelsea fans, if they get Tuchel in, that is a very good shout. We'll see if that comes through, and it'll be down to people listening to this podcast. That it's down to you. Brilliant, fantastic. Another great hour of talking football with you, my friend. We started the year as we ended it in a brilliant way. You've really helped me, cheer me up as always, and give me a really good insight into Indian football and what's happening there. So I can't thank you enough, and look forward to a lot more in the coming year. You have a great week and stay safe as usual, my friend.